Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a first look at the 101st Airborne Division, a new division available in the Nemesis Air Assault DLC, which is actually out now if you want to check it out for yourself. But we're going to be jumping on in, taking a look at all of the units available and putting together a quick deck. So let's start here in the Logistics tab with the go-kart, the M274 Supply Mule. A very interesting vehicle that goes 100 kilometers per hour on road. I'm not sure I'd want to sit on this while it's going 100 kilometers per hour. That seems like a wild ride. But you get 300 supply per vehicle, get 20 on a card for 20 points. Then we have the M561 Supply Goat, which is another really interesting, unique vehicle. One thing I really like about Eugen Systems is how they managed to get these like unique units into like Steel Division 2 and WARNO, and yeah, this is just another proof of that. The M561 Supply Goat, 500 supply, a little bit faster off-road than the go-kart. Then we have the Black Hawk, the UH-60A supply with the 1000 supply available, 8 health, 10% ECM is pretty nice for a supply helicopter. Then we have the CH-47, which gets the 2000 supply, 65 points, 10 health, 10% ECM again, and you get 3 on a card. And the interesting thing about supply is every card gives you 6000 supply, but the bigger the vehicle, the more cost efficient. So in this case, like the CH-47 supply is the most efficient to bring in 6000 supply. I think it's like 190 something points. So what you're probably going to want to do is make sure you have enough of these Chinooks because you can't get fob, especially if you're going to be playing in team games. Then we have the command vehicles. We've got the LH-58C, which is a nice sort of cheap back capper. We've got the Black Hawk, which is also good for back capping, but potentially you could use this offensively if you want to like flank around the side of the map with a bunch of other airborne units and do like an airdrop somewhere to capture a back sector. That could be kind of nice. Or like smoke it into a sector, land quickly, capture, and then take off again. Interesting things you can do with this one, especially since it has that 20% ECM, it's a little bit more tanky. And then you have the Humvee CP, which you only get 2 on a card, so an interesting choice. Definitely the best command unit, but availability-wise, potentially not. Let's move on to the infantry tab. So in the infantry tab, we have the M60, which can be brought in with the Humvee or the Black Hawk. The Black Hawk, again, 8 health with 10% ECM. You can also do the same with the 50 cal. 50 cals are pretty nice at the moment, I would say. They deliver a nice amount of DPS onto the enemy. And for 35 points, I think they're actually somewhat worth it. If you can fit them in, of course. Then we have the military police. Now, military police, they grant a suppression regeneration bonus and remove any resurface trait of nearby enemies, so really handy to have some of these mixed in with your units. But personally, I really like the P patrol with the M67. But the standard military police, they get 4 M16s and the M60, and then the military police patrol with the M67 get 5 M16s and the M67 recoilless. Now this recoilless, 35% accuracy with the 1 veterancy. 1,400 meter range. It's good for taking out light and medium vehicles, potentially side-shotting heavier vehicles, but yeah, just a pretty solid unit for covering your flanks. And you can kind of mix them in with your frontline units to have some decent anti-armor capability. Then we have the Aero Rifle Fire Team Leader, or just Aero Fire Team Leader. These guys have 2 M16s and M21. Only 3 strength leaders. I mean, I don't really see the use of these very often. You know, somebody's going to sneeze on them and they're going to fall over and die. So generally I want a thicker squad if I'm going to use it as a leader. But these do get shock trait across the board. This fire team with the AT4 5-man squad with M16, MT49, and AT4. This could be a nice sort of flanking squad and just like one for covering your own flanks. Same probably with the Aero Fire Team Dragon. This is basically a 5 strength Dragon 2 squad with shock trait. Shock trait's really not going to come in too handy for this squad in particular because you're always going to get overwhelmed by other units with just more guns. but the Dragon 2 is handy, especially as I've mentioned before. Defensively on the flank, this would be a good choice. Then we have the go-kart with the M40A1 recoilless. 17 penetration, 1400 meter range with good stealth. You could certainly pick off some targets with this. It might be fun to throw these around. I might just add them to my deck to mess around with them because they look so funny. Then we have the standard aero rifles. Now these actually come with helicopters. So we've got ourselves a 9 strength leader squad with an M72. They do get shock. So that's kind of a nice leader for 90 points. Then we have the standard aero rifle squad, which has 7 M16s, 2 M60s, and the M72. Then we have the aero rifles with the Dragon, which swap out their M60s for M249s. And we have the Dragon 2 in there. 9 strength squad with the Dragon 2 is always handy, for sure. And their base veterancy being level, like 1 is giving them 55% accuracy, which is pretty handy. And then there's the aero rifle 84, which is actually a 13 strength squad forced to come in with the Chinook. Chinook's not a bad transport. It's got 10 health, it's got 10% ECM. But it does make the squad quite expensive to bring in, but it is a very good squad. Like 13 men with 3 machine guns and an 84. I like it. And then moving on to the aero engineers, we have an engineer with a leader with a flash launcher. That's kind of interesting. M16s, 11 of those, and an M60. This is a squad that will certainly hold its own against other infantry squads at close range. So maybe one to bring in to bolster the veterancy of your own troops whilst also fighting the enemy. Then we have the standard aero engineers, which get shock trait, but they only have satchels, which is a shame. M16, A2, 9 of those, M60, and yeah, the satchel. Not a fan of satchels at the moment, they really need adjusting. Then we have the Green Beret leader. So the Green Beret leader, very nice squad. 12 strength, 9 Colt Commandos, 3 M249s, both the Special Forces and Shock trait, M72 lore. And they can be brought in with the MH47D, which is a Chinook that gets a minigun and 20% ECM. So you get 10% more ECM, you get the minigun armament, pretty handy as close range fire support. And then alongside those we have the first unit in the game ever to have 4 weapon slots. If you are a wargame fan, this is your cue to get WARNO. Because 4 weapon slots are here. This is yeah, pretty nuts, honestly. We have the technology, and in the future I believe they're going to retroactively change some squads to have 4 weapon slots. This is very cool. 14 strength squad, 11 M16s, 2 M249s, M21 sniper rifle, and an AT for a very chunky shock special forces squad with a decent transport. You gotta love it. Very nice indeed. And then we have the Toad 2, which can be brought in with the Gamma Goat, oh yeah, or the Black Hawk. Standard Toad 2 here with the 25 penetration, really nice AT weapon. Fantastic stuff, like in that infantry tab. Let's move on to the artillery tab. Things getting a little bit anemic here with the 81mm mortar and the 107mm mortar. Both get the Gamma Goat and Chinook as transports. Then we have the M102 105, which is a reasonable artillery piece for harassing enemy forces and providing smoke. Gamma Goat, Chinook as transports again. And finally we have the M198 155mm, which is actually not a terrible gun. 24 kilometer range with 3.1 HE. Just make sure you're moving them after they fire using the M35 they come with. You can like select all of the units. So if you select both the transports and the artillery piece and then right click the transport while you have them all selected, they will just automatically get into each of their respective transports. It's really handy to know that. But yeah, these mortars going to be handy for smoke as well, and just harassing enemy infantry whilst you're engaging them. Then we have the tank tab. Now the tank tab's actually better than I expected in this division. First of all, we have the go-kart though with the Ito. Love it. This thing does get good stealth. Only 4 health though. 65% accurate Itos. Okay. But I would much rather have a 6 health, 17% accurate tow 2. So I think the Humvee is always going to be the choice here with the good stealth. Then we get cards of Abrams, and this is where it kind of surprised me. But we get the M1IP Abrams command tank with 18 front armor and 17 penetration. The great thing about these Abrams is they have almost as much accuracy on the move as they do stationary, which makes them really, really scary when using them offensively against the enemy. Same with the standard M1IP, it's basically the same stats. The only difference being that the M1IP leader gets a base veterancy of 1, whereas the M1IP Abrams doesn't get any veterancy unless you purposefully put it on. So yeah, really nice tank to have in your arsenal. Moving on to the recon, we start with the sniper. The sniper getting access to 3 different types of Humvees, one that is not armed. We have one with 50 cal and one with the grenade launcher. Personally, I think the 50 cal is probably the best bet, just because it can help engage helicopters, and also I think it applies more DPS to infantry over time. So if you're going to choose a transport, I would go with the 50 cal. Then we have the Kiowa, really, really cost efficient, exceptional optic recon unit. Like 55 points for an exceptional optic helicopter is beautiful. Just bear in mind that it's only got 4 health, so it's quite easy to shoot down. It only takes like 1 Igla, or just like a little bit of a strafe from an aircraft or something. So you want to keep them kind of like far enough behind your AA to make them effective. Same deal with the Kiowa with the Hellfires. Fantastic AGGM, but just bear in mind these things will get dived by helicopters, or sorry, not helicopters, but aircraft very frequently. Then we have the EH-60A Quick Fix Black Hawk, which comes with the jammer. So what a jammer does is it downgrades the optics of any recon units equipped with radar within range, and it also will cancel the enemy's artillery corrected shot if it's in the blue sort of circle that these guys emit. And the other great thing about these is they have fantastic ECM. So 40% ECM, 8 health with very good optics. So fantastic offensive helicopter recon. Then we have the Aero Scouts. Pretty thick squad. 10 strength recon squad with very good optics. M16s, M60, M72 Law have a shock trait as well, coming with the Humvee or the Black Hawk. And then we also have an even thicker recon squad, the Aero Scouts. And the beautiful thing about these is they have the GSR trait. And the GSR trait is when a unit is not moving, they get +1 optics. So this is a 13 strength recon squad with exceptional optics when it's stationary. That's huge. 12 M16s, M21, M72 Law. And then we have the Delta Force, I guess. These guys, 3 Colt Commandos, 2 M249s and an M24. They can be brought in with a unique looking Humvee with a 50 cal on them. We've got the standard 50 cal Humvee and the grenade launcher Humvee. Now the nice thing about this Humvee, I've noticed, it's got some interesting traits. Prime Mover. Prime movers are transport units capable of carrying towed units such as artillery or air defense systems. They might also be used to transport infantry. Oh, okay, so it can double up as a sort of transport for nearby equipment. That's cool. It also has the forward deployment trait, as well as the special forces trait. Not sure how useful that's actually going to be on this Humvee, but it's cool to see a vehicle have that. Same as the Delta themselves, which also get the Special Forces shock trait. This airborne trait just refers to their forward deploy, so they get 3,534 meters forward deploy. Okay, moving on to the AA, we have, first of all, the Stinger with the Humvee. You can also bring them in with a mule that has a 50 cal. How epic is that? A go-kart with a 50 cal on it. Very nice. And a Black Hawk is also an option here. Stinger, 60% accurate because you got one vet by default. Actually really, really handy AA piece. Then there's the PVADs. Vulcan minigun, or chain gun, whatever you want to call it. 40% accuracy, pretty nice. Probably want to like double vet these generally speaking so they can rip helicopters out the sky super quick, but you can bring them in with the Gamma Goat and the Chinook. Then there's OH-58CS with air-to-air stingers, and we have the M48 Chaparral. One card of these. They have 6 HE on those missiles with 55% accuracy. The Chaparral is actually a beast, 3,525 meter range, 55% accuracy, and it's fire and forget infrared, so that's kind of nice. Alright, then we have the helicopter tab. Now this helicopter tab, quite good indeed. We start off with the AH-6F Littlebird, which comes with the Special Forces trait. So 2 miniguns and 14 Hydra rockets on this one. Then we have the AH-6G Littlebird, which actually comes with the GAU-19, which is the same weapon as, I believe, like a Cobra gets. Oh no, they get a different one, but it looks similar. Regardless, it's a very good weapon and will certainly deal plenty of damage alongside the minigun. Gets 1,400 meter range to accompany those Hydra rockets on target. And then we also get the M60A DAP, which comes with a 30mm on the side. That is huge. 1,750 meter range against ground targets, and it gets 19 Hydras with 2 miniguns. So this is a hell of a gunship. 8 health, 20% ECM. I'm liking the look of this, because this 30mm is not limited on ammo. Like, that's going to take a while to get through all of its shots, and it's got elite veterancy as well. So it gets those bonuses, the extra accuracy, rate of fire, stress resistance. That's crazy. Alright, moving on, we have the Heavy Hawk, which has the Zuni rockets, the 127mm rockets. Pretty handy for just like killing infantry at range very quickly. And then we have the H1F, a classic, with the 20mm and the multiple Hydra rockets. Gets 2, so you can see 4 rocket pods here. Very, very nice. And then the H1F Tow Cobra, which is similar, but has some ITOs and only 14 Hydras. So not actually very similar at all. I thought it got 36 Hydras, but it's actually only 14, so my bad. But regardless, so far a fantastic tab, and that's even before we got to the Apaches. The Apaches are great because they have 10 health and 20% ECM. So this also gets the 30mm with the Hydra rocket pods. There's the H-64 that we've seen with the 30mm Hellfires and rocket pods. Then there's a Apache with a Stinger and Hellfires. This is a beautiful combination. Really, really solid aircraft. Like this Apache with 10 strength and 20% ECM with the ability to defend itself against enemy helicopters with 60% accuracy is just beautiful. Like, because one thing that's going to be crazy about this is at the start of the game, usually you'd see people invest in like Mi-24 AAs, and this is something that can actually face off against them quite nicely and will probably win due to the 20% ECM. And then we got the standard Apache 80 variant, which just comes with the 16 Hellfires. Had a lot of fun with these in campaign. Finally, we have the air tab. Air tab is actually not fantastic. It's okay. Phantom 2 with 5 Sparrows and 2 AIM-9s. Actually, not a terrible choice. Then we have the Phantom 2 with HE bombs, which is 4 227 kilogram bombs. And then there's the napalm variant, which has 2 340 kilogram napalm bombs. The payloads on these seem a little lackluster, honestly. But this will still do damage. Then we have the Ewol Raven available. The Ewol Raven looks really nice. But I'm not sure how effective or useful it's going to be in this division. So basically what this does is any AA within the radius of the unit loses 20% accuracy. It will also spot enemy radar-based AA at range, which is really handy for allowing you to hit them with like artillery or with your own airstrikes. Then we have the F111F with the 12 227 kilogram bombs. Not a big fan of this payload. I feel like it looks spectacular when it drops, but I don't think it really does as much damage as it probably could. And then we've got the F-15Cs, the AA2 variant. The AA2 variant has Sparrows instead of AMRAAMs, so not as good, but still a very nice aircraft due to its 40% ECM. So yeah, decent AA. Okay, well that's all of the units in the division. Let's just throw together a quick deck. Probably going to bring in 2 cards of Chinook supply. I might bring in the Humvee command, and I'm going to throw in some of the supplies there as well that we can use on the ground. In the infantry tab, we're definitely bringing in all of the Green Berets. I want to bring in the M40 Mule because it's funny. We'll bring in a card of TOW 2s. I definitely want this card as well. That's going to be some quite expensive infantry. We'll go for these on the ground. Definitely bring in both cards of them, I think. Got to consider leaders. I mean, we're going to have leaders here. I'm definitely doing this. Then again, having a card of Humvees might be quite nice instead. Or just adding them in like so. Although that did use up a lot of activation points doing that. I'm not sure if military police can find a slot in this division. I don't think standard arrow rifles are necessary, although I say that they are exceptionally good value for money, I think. Like a 9 strength squad for 55 points. Seems pretty good. Maybe we do like 1 card of these. Just for a cheap option. Maybe the military police with the M67. And I'm potentially considering adding another leader here. But we won't for now. I could maybe take this leader out, the Abram leader, replace it with infantry leader to save some activation points. We'd save like 2. Definitely bring in these Kiowas. I don't know if I want to bring in the Hellfire Kiowa. I think it's unnecessary. We'll definitely bring in snipers. We'll bring in the Delta Force in their own unique Humvee. We definitely bring in the GSR Aero Scouts. They're really expensive. Right, let's just bring in both of those. That's okay. Might lose out here though. I would rather have the quick fix, I think, than the second card of Delta, but we'll come back to it if I need to. Definitely bringing in these with mules with 50 cals. That's hilarious. I'm going to bring in an upvetted card of PVADs. And we're going to bring in the Chaparrals. For our helicopter tab, definitely bring in both of the Apache ATAS. That's like 100% going to happen. We'll bring in the unique MH60A and the AH6G. I could also probably use standard Apache. Or even just like normal Cobras. Like heavy hogs could be really handy just for like sniping infantry at range quickly. I think we're gonna do that because they do get like 2,275 meters, which is really handy. And then in the air, we definitely go Phantom AA. And maybe just Eagle AA and no sort of ground attack aircraft. That being said, it would be handy to have like a couple of Phantoms just to kind of pop stuff in the back line. I didn't add any artillery. Skipped over that. Right, I think what I'm going to do is we're going to drop the leader M1s out of the tank tab. And we're going to add the engineer with flash launchers here. And then we can add some mortars for smoke. And some long range artillery just to snipe units that we see. Tough division to build actually. Don't know if I need 2 sets of these. Like 2 sets of arrow rifles of dragons. Although if I take them out, am I going to regret it? We will run out of infantry if I do, I think. I think we can take away that Delta unit. I'm not going to add more artillery. We could add back the M1 IP Abrams. I don't think we need to mess around in the air tab. Just put the Eagles in there. I really do want this quick fix, I think. But you only get 2 on a card. Now we'll bring back the Abrams. Cool. That'll do. 101st. I might mess around with this for sure. But that is where I'm going to leave it for now. So let's go ahead and select that and show you what it looks like. And you'll be able to find this code in the linked Google Sheet in the description. I have all my codes there if you want to check out my divisions. Alright, well, this division has a lot of potential. Very, very strong in the infantry tab. Decent armoured support. Great helicopters. Air support a little bit lacking. Same with the artillery, but it's enough. The other thing that might struggle with is supply. But I reckon you could squeeze more supply in if you did need it, because you can mess around with this heli tab. I think the H6Gs, although they'll be fun, probably won't be cost efficient, so I could take them out, put some more supply in, for example. But that's things to consider once I've actually given this division a go in a solid multiplayer game, which you'll see on the channel at some point, hopefully. Alright, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. That's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.